Welcome to Mystery History for Sleep. I'm Mr. H, your guide through the shadows of the past, where truths too dangerous to be spoken aloud still whisper to those who dare to listen. Tonight, we're stepping into a mystery that could unravel everything you've been taught about history, about faith, about who we are. We're talking about books, not just any books, but forbidden books, texts so powerful, so explosive, they were burned, buried, or locked away in the darkest vaults of history. These aren't fairy tales or dusty relics. These are the manuscripts that challenged empires, shook religions, and threatened to set the human spirit free. So, grab a blanket, dim the lights, and let's ask the question that's haunted me for years. What makes a book dangerous? Part 1. What makes a book dangerous? Picture this. Alexandria, Egypt, 48 BCE. The greatest library in the ancient world stands like a beacon of human knowledge, its shelves packed with hundreds of thousands of scrolls. Philosophy from Greece, astronomy from Babylon, mysticism from India, it's all here. A treasure trove of ideas that could change the world. But then, in the dead of night, flames erupt. The fire roars, devouring parchment and papyrus, reducing centuries of wisdom to ash. By morning, the Library of Alexandria is a smouldering ruin. History calls it an accident, a casualty of war, when Julius Caesar's troops set fire to enemy ships, and the blaze spread. But what if it wasn't an accident? What if someone wanted those scrolls gone? What if the ideas inside them were so threatening, so revolutionary, that they had to be erased not just from the shelves, but from the memory of humanity? Let's be real for a second. We're taught that history is a straight line, a tidy record of facts passed down through time. Kings rose, empires fell, inventions changed the world. But who's writing that story? Who's holding the pen? Because the more you dig, the more you realize history isn't a record of truth, it's a battlefield. And the most powerful weapon in that fight isn't a sword or a crown, it's censorship. A single book, a single idea, can topple a throne, dismantle a religion, or wake up a generation. And that's exactly why some books were deemed too dangerous to exist. Take the Book of Enoch, a Jewish text from 300 BCE. It tells a story so wild it sounds like something out of a sci-fi blockbuster. Angels called the Watchers descend to Earth, teach humans forbidden knowledge, astronomy, metallurgy, even the secrets of Waran-Sire, a race of giants called the Nephilim. This wasn't some obscure myth. Early Christians, like the church father Tertullian, treated it as scripture. The New Testament's Book of Jude quotes it directly. Yet, by the time the Bible was finalized at the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, Enoch was gone, labeled heresy, and banished from the canon. Why? Because it dared to suggest humans could access divine wisdom without a priest standing in the way. If you don't need a church to know the cosmos, what happens to the church's power? That's the kind of question that gets a book burned. Or consider the Nag Hammadi texts, discovered in Egypt in 1945. These weren't just old manuscripts, they were a hidden library, buried for 1,500 years to escape destruction. One of them, the Gospel of Thomas, contains a line that stopped me cold the first time I read it. The kingdom of God is within you and all around you. No temples, no rituals, no gatekeepers, just you and the divine. I remember sitting in my office, surrounded by emails and notifications, feeling overwhelmed by the noise of the digital world when I stumbled across those words. It was like a lifeline, a reminder that truth doesn't come from screens or authorities, it's already inside us. But here's the kicker. These texts, written in the 2nd century CE, were branded heresy by the early Christian church. Why? Because if the divine is inside you, what's the point of a bishop or a pope? That's not just dangerous, it's revolutionary. And it's not just about religion. Across the ocean, in 16th century Central America, the Maya had their own sacred text, the Popol Vuh. It wasn't about sin or salvation, but about humans crafted from corn, striving for balance with nature. When Spanish missionaries arrived in 1562, they didn't just conquer land, they burned every Maya codex they could find, calling them works of the devil. The Popol Vuh survived only because one priest, defying his own orders, secretly copied it down. Why destroy an entire culture's memory? Because it didn't fit the story the conquerors wanted to tell, a story where Europe was the center of civilization and everyone else was just waiting to be saved. Then there's the Voynich Manuscript, a book so strange it defies explanation. Found in 1912, it's written in a script no one can read, with drawings of plants and stars that don't exist. Even World War II codebreakers couldn't crack it. And the Codex Gigas, nicknamed the Devil's Bible, a massive 13th century tome with a full-page drawing of Satan himself. Yet, it also contains advanced medical and astronomical knowledge. Why were these books preserved but shunned, locked away but never destroyed? What made them so dangerous that even today, some are kept out of reach? Here's the truth. A book becomes dangerous when it threatens the system. When it says you don't need a king to rule you, a priest to save you, or an empire to define you. These forbidden texts, whether they're about angels, the soul, or the star, share one thing in common. They give power back to you. They say you can know the universe, connect with the divine, or understand your own history without someone else's permission. And that's why, for thousands of years, emperors, popes, and conquerors have burned, buried, or sealed them away. They weren't afraid of the words. They were afraid of what you'd do if you believed them. Let me get personal for a moment. A few years ago, I was at a crossroads working long hours, juggling family life, and feeling like I was losing myself in the grind. I stumbled across a book about ancient texts in a used bookstore, the kind with creaky floors and that musty smell of old paper. When I read about the Popol Vuh and its idea of living in balance with nature, it hit me hard. I was chasing deadlines and bills, but what if I was meant to chase harmony instead? That moment changed how I see history. It's not just a collection of facts, it's a puzzle, and half the pieces are missing. Tonight, we're going to find those pieces. We'll journey through 5 forbidden texts that could rewrite everything we think we know. The Book of Enoch will take us to a world of rebellious angels and cosmic secrets. The Nag Hammadi texts will challenge the very foundations of Christianity. The Popol Vuh will reveal a Maya wisdom that rivals modern science. The Voynich Manuscript and Codex Gigas will leave us questioning what's real and what's been hidden. And we'll travel across cultures from China's Shanhai Jing to Africa's griot tradition stove, uncover a global truth that someone, somewhere, didn't want you to know. But here's the big question. Who gets to decide what you're allowed to read? Is it the church, guarding its authority? Is it empires, shaping their legacies? Or is it you, right now, choosing to ask questions and seek answers? Because every time you open one of these forbidden books, you're not just reading, you're rebelling. You're saying no to the gatekeepers who've controlled the story for centuries. Before we dive in, let's make this a conversation. Drop a comment below. If you could read one forbidden book from history, which would it be? The Book of Enoch? The Voynich Manuscript? Something else entirely? Or share a quick theory on X with number Mystery History. What secret do you think these books hide? Your answer might spark the next big discovery. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We're not just uncovering history, we're reclaiming it. This is Mystery History for Sleep, so feel free to let these stories sink in as you relax. Maybe even drift off into dreams of ancient secrets. But don't get too comfortable, because what we're about to uncover might keep you awake, wondering what else is out there. We're not here to give you all the answers. We're here to ask the questions that history tried to bury. Why were these books hidden? What truths were so dangerous that they had to be erased? And most importantly, what happens when we start to remember? Let's find out together. First stop, the Book of Enoch, a text so explosive it was quoted in the Bible but banned from its pages. Ready to meet the angels who dared to defy the heavens? Let's go. Part 2. 1. The Story of the Watchers and Nephilim. We've just stepped into the shadows of history, where forbidden books hold secrets that could unravel everything we've been taught. Now, let's plunge into the heart of one of the most explosive texts ever written, a manuscript, so wild, so unsettling, it was quoted in the Bible but erased from its pages. This is the Book of Enoch, a Jewish text from around 300 BCE that reads like a cosmic rebellion straight out of a sci-fi epic. its tale of fallen angels, forbidden knowledge, and a race of giants called the Nephilim didn't just challenge the religious authorities of its time, it threatened to rewrite the very relationship between humanity and the divine. So, settle in, let the world fade away, and prepare to meet the Watchers, the angels who dared to defy the heavens. This story is going to shake you to your core. Close your eyes and imagine a world before history as we know it, a time when the heavens and earth weren't separated by an uncrossable divide. The Book of Enoch paints a vivid picture of this ancient world, where celestial beings called the Watchers were tasked with a simple mission: observe humanity. These were no ordinary angels. They were divine overseers, beings of light and power, stationed in the heavens to watch over the fledgling human race. Their job was clear: keep their distance, stay impartial, never interfere. But something went wrong. The Watchers didn't just watch, they acted. They looked down at the daughters of men, found them beautiful, and made a choice that would send shockwaves through creation. They descended to earth. Picture this moment: 200 angels, led by a figure named Semjaza, standing on a desolate mountaintop under a sky blazing with stars. They swear a solemn oath, binding themselves to a pact that defies divine law. They will take human women as their wives, live among mortals, and share secrets meant only for the heavens. This wasn't a casual decision. The Book of Enoch describes it as a deliberate rebellion, a cosmic mutiny. The angels knew the consequence: eternal punishment, exile from the divine realm, but they chose to fall anyway. Why? The text doesn't portray them as purely evil. It hints at desire, curiosity, perhaps even a longing to bridge the gap between heaven and earth. But their choice unleashed chaos that would change the world forever. The result of their forbidden unions was the Nephilim, a race of giants born from the mingling of divine and human. These weren't just tall men, they were monstrous, towering beings with strength and appetites that defied nature. The Book of Enoch describes them as a calamity, devouring crops, livestock, and, in some chilling interpretations, even humans. The earth couldn't sustain them. Villages were stripped bare, forests were consumed, and humanity trembled under their shadow. The Nephilim weren't just a physical threat, they were a living symbol of a broken order, a violation of the boundary between the mortal and the divine. The world, once harmonious, spiraled into chaos, groaning under the weight of these unnatural beings. But the Watchers' rebellion didn't stop at creating giants. They went further, sharing knowledge that humans were never meant to have. One angel, Azazel, taught men to forge metals, crafting swords, shields, and tools that could build or destroy. Others revealed the secrets of the star's astronomy, lunar cycles, the patterns of the cosmos, knowledge that echoes the advanced calculations of ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. They taught herbal medicine, the art of healing with plants, and even, according to some passages, the subtleties of cosmetics and persuasion. Stop and think about that for a second. Angels teaching humans how to navigate the heavens, heal the sick, and wage war. This wasn't just a gift, it was a revolution. The Book of Enoch suggests humanity was handed the keys to civilization itself, from metallurgy to medicine, all from beings who defied the divine plan. This knowledge, however, came with a devastating price. The Book of Enoch tells us the world wasn't ready. The weapons led to bloodshed, the astronomy fueled arrogance, and the Nephilim's insatiable hunger pushed humanity to the brink. The text describes a creation gone haywire, a world where divine gifts became curses. According to Enoch, God looked down and saw the chaos. His response was merciless, a great flood to wipe the earth clean, drowning the Nephilim and restoring order. The Watchers faced a worse fate, bound in chains, cast into the depths of the earth, imprisoned until the final judgment. Their knowledge was sealed away, labeled forbidden, and the Book of Enoch itself was buried in the shadows of history, deemed too dangerous to be read. Why does this story feel so explosive? It's not just about angels and giants, it's about power. The Book of Enoch challenges the idea that knowledge comes only from above, through approved channels like prophets or priests. Instead, it says humans gained wisdom from rebels, from angels who broke the rules to share what was hidden. If that's true, What does it mean for the systems that claim to control truth? If divine beings could defy the heavens, why can't we question the authorities that govern us? The story of the Watchers and Nephilim isn't just a myth, it's a manifesto, a call to reach beyond the limits we're given. A few years ago, I was caught in the grind-long days at work, endless emails, feeling like I was just a cog in a machine. I stumbled across a translation of the Book of Enoch online, and its story of rebellion hit me like a wake-up call. Here I was, following rules, chasing deadlines, but what if I was meant to break free, to seek knowledge beyond what's handed to me? For us middle-aged folks, juggling careers, families, and bills, that idea feels like a spark. The Book of Enoch isn't just a release, it's a mirror, reflecting our own hunger to break free from the systems that box us in. Let's make this a conversation. If the Watchers shared forbidden knowledge with humanity, what was it? A lost science, a cosmic truth, or something we can't even imagine? Share your wildest guess on X with number Mystery History, or drop a comment below. I'm dying to hear what sparks your curiosity. This story isn't just about ancient rebels, it's about the fire of defiance that burns in all of us, waiting to be unleashed. But the Book of Enoch is more than this one tale. Its banishment from the Bible wasn't just about giants or angels, it was about control. As we move forward, we'll uncover why this text was erased, how it survived in the shadows, and what its rediscovery means for us today. The Watchers and Nephilim are just the beginning. Stay with me, because the next chapter of this story will reveal why the Book of Enoch was too dangerous to be kept in the light. Part 2. History and reasons for the ban. We've just walked through the cosmic rebellion of the Watchers and their giant offspring, the Nephilim, a story so wild it feels like it belongs in a blockbuster movie. But the Book of Enoch isn't just a thrilling tale of angels and chaos, it's a text that shook the foundations of ancient faith and power. Why was this manuscript, once revered by early Jewish and Christian communities, erased from the Bible? Why did it vanish for centuries, only to resurface in the shadows? Tonight, as we continue our journey with Mystery History for Sleep, let's unravel the history of the Book of Enoch and the reasons it was deemed too dangerous to survive. Grab your blanket, let the night wrap around you, and let's dig into the forces that tried to bury this explosive text. The Book of Enoch wasn't always forbidden. Written around 300 BCE, it was a cornerstone of Jewish thought in the Second Temple period, a time when the Jewish people were rebuilding their identity after exile in Babylon. This was no obscure pamphlet, it was a sprawling, complex work filled with visions of the heavens, prophecies, and tales of divine judgment. Early Jewish communities cherished it, and so did the first Christians. Church fathers like Tertullian, writing in the 2nd century CE, treated it as sacred, quoting it alongside other scriptures. Even the New Testament's Book of Jude, part of the Bible we know today, directly references Enoch, citing its prophecy about divine judgment. So, if this text was so respected, why did it disappear? What made it go from holy to heretical? The turning point came in 325 CE, at the Council of Nicaea, a pivotal moment when the early Christian church decided which texts would form the official Bible. Picture a room full of bishops, gathered under the watchful eye of Emperor Constantine, debating which writings were the true word of God. The Book of Enoch was on the table, but it didn't make the cut. Why? The answer lies in what the book represented. The church was building a unified faith, a single story to hold an empire together. They needed a theology that was clear, controllable, and centered on one all-powerful God, with the church as the sole gatekeeper of salvation. The Book of Enoch didn't fit that mold. Its story of rebellious angels, forbidden knowledge, and a cosmos where humans could learn divine secrets was too chaotic, too open-ended, too dangerous. Let's break it down. The Book of Enoch challenged the church's authority in 3 big ways. First, it suggested humans could access divine wisdom directly, without priests or temples. The Watchers taught astronomy, metallurgy, and medicine skills that empowered humanity to shape their own destiny. If people believed they could learn from angels, what need was there for a clergy to mediate between them and God? That idea alone was a threat to the church's growing power. Second, the book's portrayal of angels as rebels who could sin and fall blurred the line between divine and human. If even angels could defy God, what stopped humans from questioning authority? The church wanted a clear hierarchy: God above, humans below, and priests in between. Enoch's story smashed that structure to pieces. Third, and perhaps most unsettling, the Book of Enoch hinted at a universe far more complex than the church's tidy narrative. Its descriptions of heavenly realms, solar cycles, and cosmic order suggested a world where knowledge wasn't just spiritual, it was scientific. These weren't vague prophecies. They were detailed observations that echoed the advanced astronomy of ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. For a church trying to control the story of creation, a text that blended faith and science was a problem. It raised questions they couldn't answer. What if humans were meant to know more? What if the divine wasn't a distant judge but a force we could understand through study and exploration? So, the Book of Enoch was labeled heresy. It wasn't burned outright. Its influence was too strong for that. Instead, it was quietly sidelined, removed from the canon, and left to fade from public memory. By the 4th century, most copies were gone, either destroyed or hidden. But here's the twist. The book didn't disappear entirely. It survived in the margins, preserved by communities far from the church's reach. In Ethiopia, the Orthodox Tewahedo Church kept it alive, including it in their Bible as sacred scripture. For centuries, while Europe forgot Enoch, Ethiopian scholars guarded its secrets, copying it by hand, passing it down through generations. When European explorers rediscovered it in the 18th century, they were stunned. This wasn't just a lost text, it was a window into a world the church had tried to erase. Why was this ban so significant? Because it wasn't just about one book. The suppression of the Book of Enoch set a precedent for controlling knowledge. It showed that ideas could be silenced, not because they were false, but because they were inconvenient. The church didn't just ban a story, they banned a mindset, one that said humans could reach for the stars, literally and figuratively, without permission. That mindset was a threat to every system built on control, from religion to empires. Let's spark a debate. Why do you think the church feared a book about angels teaching humans? Was it the rebellion, the knowledge, or something deeper? Drop your theory in the comments, or share it on X with number Mystery History Y. Want to see what you uncover? For me, the Book of Enoch is a reminder that truth doesn't always come from the top down. Sometimes, it comes from the rebels, the outcasts, the ones who dare to break the rules. As we move forward, we'll explore how the Book of Enoch survived, what its rediscovery means, and how its ideas connect to other forbidden texts. The story of the Watchers and Nephilim was just the spark. Now, let's see how that spark ignited a fire that the church couldn't put out. Stay with me, because the next chapter is going to take us even deeper into the shadows of history. Part 2.3: The Ethiopia Mystery and Scientific Connections. We've just unraveled the cosmic rebellion of the Watchers and the Nephilim, and the reasons why the Book of Enoch was erased from the Bible. But the story doesn't end with its banishment. This ancient text didn't vanish into the dust of history. It found a sanctuary, a place where its secrets were guarded for centuries, far from the reach of empires and churches. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're diving into the enigma of how the Book of Enoch survived in Ethiopia, and, even more astonishing, how its pages hint at scientific knowledge that seems impossibly advanced for its time. Settle in, let the night wrap around you, and let's explore a mystery that could change how you see the past. While Europe buried the Book of Enoch, labeling it heresy after the Council of Nicaea in 325 CE, a different story was unfolding in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, one of the oldest Christian communities in the world, didn't just preserve this text, they revered it as scripture. Tucked away in monasteries perched on rugged cliffs and hidden in the Horn of Africa, monks meticulously copied the Book of Enoch by hand, century after century. This wasn't a casual act of record-keeping, it was defiance, a quiet rebellion against the forces that sought to erase this knowledge. Why Ethiopia? Some scholars believe the text arrived there with early Jewish communities or Christian missionaries who carried it across the Red Sea before the Roman Church could tighten its grip. Others whisper a bolder theory, that Ethiopia, a land of ancient traditions, was chosen as a safe haven for truths too dangerous for the Western world. Imagine those monastery stone walls echoing with chants, candlelight flickering over parchment as scribes worked through the night. They weren't just saving a book, they were protecting a vision of the cosmos, a story of angels and humans that refused to bow to authority. When European explorers, like the Scottish traveller James Bruce, rediscovered the Book of Enoch in Ethiopia in the 1770s, they were stunned. Here was a text the West had forgotten, alive and sacred, its pages filled with descriptions of heavenly realms and cosmic cycles. But what really shocked scholars wasn't just its survival, it was what the book contained. Here's where the mystery deepens. The Book of Enoch isn't just a religious text, it's a time capsule of scientific insight. Its sections on astronomy describe the movements of the sun, moon, and stars with a precision that feels out of place for 300 BCE. The book outlines a solar calendar of 364 days, divided into seasons and months, with detailed accounts of celestial paths. These aren't vague metaphors, they're calculations, eerily similar to the astronomical records of ancient Mesopotamia and Egypt. For example, Enoch's Book of the Heavenly Luminaries maps the lunar phases and solar cycles in a way that mirrors the sophisticated star charts of Babylon, which tracked celestial events to predict seasons and eclipses. How did a text from 2,300 years ago contain knowledge that rivals the work of later astronomers? Even more intriguing, Enoch's descriptions of the cosmos-layered heavens, angelic hierarchies, and cosmic orderecho, the mathematical and symbolic systems of ancient civilizations. The text speaks of gates in the heavens through which stars and winds pass, a concept that feels like a poetic version of orbital mechanics. Modern scholars have noted parallels between these passages and the astronomical knowledge of the Babylonians, who used clay tablets to record planetary movements as early as 1800 BCE. Could the Book of Enoch be a bridge between spiritual and scientific traditions, encoding observations in the language of myth? Or is it something stranger, a record of knowledge shared by beings beyond our understanding? This raises a chilling question. What if the Book of Enoch wasn't just a story, but a glimpse into a lost science? Its survival in Ethiopia, untouched by the West's censorship, suggests someone wanted this knowledge preserved. But why hide it in a remote corner of the world? Was it to protect it from those who would destroy it, or to keep it from those who weren't ready to understand? Vote on X. Is the Book of Enoch a hidden science or a sacred myth? Use number Mystery History and tag us. I'm curious to see your take. For me, it's a reminder that truth doesn't always come from the top down. Sometimes, it's hidden in the margins, waiting for those bold enough to seek it. As we close this chapter, the Book of Enoch leaves us with more questions than answers. Its survival in Ethiopia is a testament to the resilience of truth, and its scientific connections hint at a world where faith and knowledge were once one. Stay with me, because next we'll explore how this forbidden text connects to other lost books, and what happens when humanity dares to reclaim what was hidden. Let the whispers of Enoch linger as you drift into the night, dreaming of stars and secrets. Part 3.1 The Discovery of Nag Hammadi, 1945. The Book of Enoch has left us reeling, its tales of fallen angels and cosmic secrets shaking the foundations of what we thought we knew. But that was just the beginning. Now, we're stepping into a mystery that feels like it was ripped from an archaeological thriller, a discovery so profound, it cracked open the history of early Christianity and exposed truths that had been buried for over a millennium. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're traveling to the sun-scorched cliffs of Upper Egypt, to a moment in 1945 that changed everything. This is the story of the Nag Hammadi texts, a hidden library that survived centuries of persecution to whisper a dangerous idea. The divine isn't out there, it's within you. So, settle into the shadows, let the night carry you, and let's uncover a secret that someone, somewhere, didn't want you to find. It's December 1945, and the world is still reeling from the end of World War II. In a small village called Nag Hammadi, nestled along the Nile River in Egypt, two brothers, Muhammad and Khalifa Ali, are digging for fertilizer in the desert soil. They're not scholars or treasure hunters, just farmers trying to make a living. As their shovels strike the dry earth near the cliffs of Jabal al-Tarif, they hit something hard. It's not a rock or a root, but a large clay jar, sealed tight, buried deep as if someone wanted it hidden forever. Curious, they smash it open, expecting gold or coins, maybe an ancient relic to sell. Instead, they find 13 leather-bound codices, their pages filled with strange Coptic script. These aren't just books, they're a time capsule, a library of forbidden texts that had been concealed for over 1,500 years. What they've stumbled upon is one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the 20th century, the Nag Hammadi library. Inside that jar were 52 texts, written in Coptic, a language descended from ancient Egyptian, dating back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries CE. These weren't random writings, they were Gnostic scriptures, the sacred texts of a spiritual movement that once rivaled early Christianity. Among them were titles that would send shockwaves through the academic and religious worlds: the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Philip, the Apocryphon of John, and the Wisdom of Jesus Christ. These texts weren't just lost, they were deliberately hidden, buried in the desert to escape destruction. But why? What was so dangerous about these writings that someone went to such lengths to protect them, sealing them in a jar under the cliffs? To understand this, we need to step back to the early days of Christianity, when the faith was still taking shape. In the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, there wasn't one unified Christianity. There were dozens of communities, each with their own beliefs, texts, and practices. Some followed the teachings of Paul, others clung to Jewish traditions. And then there were the Gnostics thinkers who believed that salvation didn't come from rituals or priests, but from gnosis, a Greek word meaning inner knowledge or spiritual insight. The Gnostics didn't see God as a distant judge in the sky. They believed the divine spark was already inside every human, waiting to be awakened. The Gospel of Thomas, one of the Nag Hammadi texts, puts it bluntly: "The kingdom of God is within you and all around you. It is not in buildings of wood and stone." Imagine hearing that in a world where temples and priests held all the power. It's not just radical, it's revolutionary. The discovery of these texts was a bombshell. When scholars began translating them in the late 1940s, they realized they weren't just reading alternative gospels. They were uncovering a lost version of Christianity, one that challenged the very foundations of the Church. The Gospel of Thomas, for example, isn't a narrative like the New Testament Gospels. It's a collection of 114 sayings attributed to Jesus, many of which sound nothing like the Bible. One saying reads, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." There's no talk of sin or judgment here, just a call to look inward, to find truth in yourself. For me, reading that felt like a wake-up call, like someone had handed me a key to a door I didn't even know existed. It made me wonder, what if this was the original message of Christianity, before it was shaped by power and politics? But the Nag Hammadi texts weren't just hidden for their ideas, they were hidden to survive. By the 4th century CE, the Christian Church, backed by the Roman Empire, was consolidating its authority. The Council of Nicaea in 325 CE had standardized the Bible, choosing which texts were divinely inspired and which were heresy. The Gnostic writings didn't make the cut. Their emphasis on personal revelation, their rejection of a hierarchical church, and their complex cosmology, complete with ideas like the demiurge, a flawed creator god, were seen as threats to the unified faith the empire needed. So, the Gnostics were branded heretics. Their texts were burned, their communities were persecuted, and their ideas were driven underground. Yet, some, perhaps a monk, a scholar, or a believer, refused to let them die. They gathered these texts, bound them in leather, sealed them in a jar, and buried them in the desert, hoping one day they'd be found. The discovery in 1945 wasn't just a lucky break, it was a defiance of history's gatekeepers. Those farmers in Nag Hammadi didn't just find books, they unearthed a voice that had been silenced for centuries. When I first read about this, I imagined that moment, the jar breaking open, the dust rising, the pages whispering secrets that had been locked away since the Roman Empire. It gave me chills. Who buried this library? Were they running from soldiers, hiding from persecution, or simply protecting a truth they believed in? And here's a challenge for you. If you had to hide one book to save it from destruction, what would it be? Share your pick on X with number Mystery History, or drop it in the comments below. I'm curious to know what truths you'd fight to preserve. As we move deeper into the Nag Hammadi texts, we'll uncover their radical philosophy and a twist that flips Christianity on its head. For now, let the mystery of this discovery linger. The desert held these secrets for 1,500 years, waiting for the right moment to speak. Are you ready to listen? Part 3. 2. Gnosticism and the Philosophy of Freedom. We've just unearthed the Nag Hammadi texts, a hidden library buried in the Egyptian desert for over 1,500 years, whispering truths that challenged the early Christian church. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're diving into the heart of these texts, exploring the radical philosophy of Gnosticism, a worldview so dangerous it was nearly erased. This is a story of a belief that said you don't need a church or a priest to find the divine, because it's already inside you. So, settle into the quiet of the night, let the world slip away, and let's uncover a truth that someone didn't want you to know. Gnosticism was a movement that thrived in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE, alongside early Christianity. The word Gnostic comes from the Greek gnosis, meaning inner knowledge, from books or sermons, but from looking within. The Gnostics believed every human carries a divine spark, trapped in a flawed world. Their texts, like the Gospel of Thomas, didn't demand obedience or rituals. They urged you to awaken that spark, to find truth in yourself. One saying from the Gospel of Thomas hit me hard. The kingdom of God is within you and all around you. It is not in buildings of wood and stone. No clergy, no gatekeepers, just you and the divine. I was on a late-night X scroll, drowning in clickbait and ads, feeling like I'd lost my anchor in a sea of digital noise. Those words were a lifeline, a reminder that truth isn't in the endless feed, it's inside us, waiting to be found. Here's the twist. The Gnostics believed this world was created by a flawed being called the Demiurge, not the true God. The Apocryphon of John paints the Demiurge as a misguided force, ruling through illusion and control, trapping divine sparks in human bodies. The real God, they said, is a pure consciousness you can reach through gnosis. This wasn't just theology, it was a rebellion, saying you could break free from a world of rules. That idea was dynamite in the 2nd century, when the church was building a unified faith, demanding one God, one Saviour, one path through its doors. The Gnostics' call for personal freedom, their belief that everyone, man or woman, could access the divine, threatened that control. The Gospel of Philip even hints that Mary Magdalene was a spiritual leader, not just a follower, challenging the church's male-dominated narrative. This radicalism came at a cost. By the 3rd century, the church, backed by the Roman Empire, branded Gnostics heretics, burning their texts and scattering their communities. The Nag Hammadi library, sealed in that jar, was a desperate act to save these ideas. I remember reading these texts during a crunch time at work, when I was buried under deadlines and felt like I was losing myself. The Gnostic idea of finding truth within cut through that chaos, reminding me that I didn't need external validation to know what's real. For those of us in our 30s and 40s, caught in the grind of bills and screens, that's a powerful message. Here's a challenge. If the Gnostics are right and the divine is inside you, what truth are you searching for? Share your story on X with number Mystery History. What's one moment when you trusted your gut over the noise? Drop it in the comments too. I'm dying to hear your take. For me, Gnosticism is a call to question everything, to find freedom in a world that tries to chain us. As we move forward, we'll explore how this philosophy connects to our lives today, with a twist that flips Christianity upside down. For now, let the idea of gnosis linger. The Nag Hammadi texts were a call to freedom, hidden for centuries, waiting for us. Stay with me, because this journey is about to get wilder. Part 3. The Purge and the Library of Alexandria. The Nag Hammadi texts have just opened our eyes to a radical vision of freedom, a Gnostic philosophy that placed the divine within every soul, challenging the very foundations of power. But this vision didn't just fade away, was hunted, silenced, and nearly erased from history. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're stepping into the flames of one of history's greatest tragedies, a moment when the world's knowledge was consumed by fire. We're talking about the destruction of the Library of Alexandria and the deliberate purge of ideas like those found in the Nag Hammadi texts. This isn't just a story of loss, it's a story of control, of a battle to decide who gets to define truth. So, settle into the quiet of the night, let the shadows guide you, and let's uncover why these forbidden ideas had to be burned. Picture Alexandria, Egypt, in its premier glittering hub of learning, a city where scholars from Greece, Persia, India, and beyond gathered to share ideas. At its heart stood the Library of Alexandria, founded around 300 BCE by the successors of Alexander the Great. This wasn't just a library, it was a monument to human curiosity, housing hundreds of thousands of scrolls, philosophy, mathematics, astronomy, poetry, and mysticism. Among those scrolls were texts like the ones found at Nag Hammadi, Gnostic writings that dared to say the divine was within us, not locked away in temples. Alexandria was a melting pot of ideas, a place where Jewish mystics, Greek philosophers, and Egyptian priests debated the nature of the cosmos. But that freedom, that collision of truths, made it a target. The destruction of the Library of Alexandria wasn't a single event, it was a slow, brutal process that unfolded over centuries. The first blow came in 48 BCE, when Julius Caesar's troops, battling in Alexandria's harbour, accidentally set fire to part of the city. Some scrolls were lost, but the library endured. Yet, as Christianity rose to power in the Roman Empire, the attacks grew more deliberate. By the 3rd and 4th centuries CE, the early church, backed by emperors like Constantine, was working to unify faith under one doctrine. The Gnostic texts, with their radical ideas of inner divinity and a flawed creator called the demiurge, didn't fit this vision. They were seen as chaos, a threat to the orderly theology the church was building. And so, the purges began. In 391 CE, Christian mobs, fueled by religious zeal and the decrees of Emperor Theodosius, attacked pagan temples and libraries in Alexandria. The library, or what remained of it, was caught in the crossfire. Scrolls were burned, scholars were driven out, and the city's legacy as a beacon of knowledge dimmed. Some historians argue the final blow came in 642 CE, when Muslim conquerors, led by Caliph Omar, allegedly ordered the library's destruction, claiming its texts were either redundant or heretical. The truth is, no single fire destroyed everything, but the result was the same. Countless texts, including Gnostic writings, vanished in flames. The Nag Hammadi library, buried 1,500 years ago, was likely hidden to escape this very purge, sealed in a jar to protect it from those who wanted it gone. Why target the Gnostics? Because their ideas were dynamite. The Gospel of Thomas and Apocryphon of John didn't just challenge the church, they dismantled its authority. If the kingdom of God is within you, as the Gospel of Thomas claims, then the church's role as gatekeeper to salvation crumbles. If the material world is a trap created by a flawed demiurge, as the Apocryphon of John suggests, then the church's rituals and hierarchies lose their power. The church needed a unified story, one God, one Saviour, one path through its doors. Gnosticism offered a different path, one where every soul could find truth without permission. That wasn't just heresy, it was a revolution. I remember reading about the Library of Alexandria's destruction and feeling a pang of loss, like part of my own history had been stolen. Those scrolls weren't just paper, They were the thoughts, dreams, and discoveries of people who dared to ask big questions. The Gnostic texts, with their message of inner freedom, were among the most dangerous. The Church didn't just burn them to eliminate heresy, they burned them to control the narrative. By erasing these ideas, they ensured that future generations would look to bishops, not their own hearts, for answers. But the Nag Hammadi discovery in 1945 proved that truth is stubborn, it doesn't die easily. Those texts, hidden in the desert, were a middle finger to the gatekeepers, a reminder that ideas can survive even the fiercest flames. Here's a question for you. Why do you think the powers of the time were so desperate to destroy places like the Library of Alexandria? Was it just religious fervor? Or was it about controlling what people could know? Drop your thoughts in the comments, or share a quick theory on X with number Mystery History. I'm curious to see what you uncover. For me, the loss of Alexandria isn't just a tragedy, it's a warning. It tells us that knowledge can be a weapon, and those in power will do anything to keep it out of our hands. As we move forward, we're about to hit a twist that flips everything you know about Christianity on its head. The Gnostic texts didn't just challenge the Church, they suggested a completely different reality. Stay with me, because this journey is about to get wilder, and the secrets of Nag Hammadi are only the beginning. Part 3. 4. Modern Impact. The flames that consumed the Library of Alexandria and the purges that silenced the Gnostic texts couldn't extinguish their truths forever. The discovery of the Nag Hammadi library in 1945 brought those ancient voices back, whispering ideas that feel as alive today as they did 1,800 years ago. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're exploring how these forbidden texts, with their radical philosophy of inner freedom, ripple into our modern world. Their message that the divine lies within you, not in institutions, resonates in ways that might surprise you. So, sink into the quiet of the night, let these ancient words wrap around you, and let's uncover how the Gnostic vision is shaping our lives today. When the Nag Hammadi texts were translated in the late 1940s, they didn't just spark academic debates, they ignited a quiet revolution. The Gospel of Thomas, with its call to find the divine within, sounds like it could headline a modern mindfulness retreat. Its emphasis on self-discovery echoes the core of today's wellness movements, where people seek meaning through meditation, therapy, or introspection, rather than external authorities. I felt this connection myself a few years ago, during a rough patch when I was juggling a demanding job and family responsibilities, feeling like I was always one step behind. I'd spend hours scrolling X, caught in a loop of news, ads, and arguments, searching for something to anchor me. Then I found the Gospel of Thomas, and its words, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you," felt like a lifeline. For those of us in our 30s and 40s, navigating the chaos of the digital age, that message is a reminder that the answers aren't in our screens, they're inside us, waiting to be uncovered. The Gnostic idea of the demiurge, a flawed creator trapping us in a world of illusion, hits even harder today. Think about it. We're bombarded with distractions, from endless news cycles to social media algorithms designed to keep us scrolling. The Gnostics might say we're still trapped by a modern demiurge, not a god but a system that thrives on keeping us ignorant of our own power. This resonates with thinkers like Carl Jung, whose psychological theories about the shadow and self-realization draw heavily on Gnostic ideas. Jung saw the demiurge as a metaphor for the unconscious forces that limit us, a concept that's now mainstream in therapy and self-help. The Nag Hammadi texts, buried for centuries, are like a mirror held up to our digital age, asking, are we awake, or are we still asleep in the demiurge's trap? Beyond psychology, the Gnostic emphasis on equality, especially the role of women like Mary Magdalene in texts like the Gospel of Philippus, fueled modern conversations about inclusivity. These texts portray Mary as a spiritual leader, not a follower, challenging the male-dominated narrative of traditional Christianity. This idea has inspired feminist scholars and theologians to rethink women's roles in religion, sparking movements to reclaim voices silenced by history. It's no coincidence that the rediscovery of these texts in 1945 coincided with the rise of civil rights and gender equality movements. The Gnostics, with their radical inclusivity, were centuries ahead of their time. But the real impact is personal. When I first dug into these texts, I was at a point where I felt lost, swamped by work, disconnected from my own sense of purpose. The idea that I didn't need permission to seek truth, that the divine was already part of me, changed how I saw the world. It's a message that cuts through the noise of our chaotic lives, urging us to question who controls our beliefs. Here's a challenge. How would your life change if you trusted the truth inside you over the noise outside? Share your story on X with Number Mystery History, or drop it in the comments. I want to know what this sparks in you. The Nag Hammadi texts aren't just relics, they're a call to action. They ask us to wake up, to question the systems that shape our reality, and to reclaim our inner power. As we move forward, we're about to cross the ocean to a new world, where another forbidden text survived against all odds. Stay with me, because the story of the Popol Vuh is next, and it's going to hit close to home. Part 4.1. The Story of the Popol Vuh. The Nag Hammadi texts have shown us a Christianity that could have been a vision of freedom buried in the desert to escape destruction. But now, let's cross the ocean to a different world, a different truth, one that didn't need churches or priests to connect with the divine. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're stepping into the lush jungles of Central America, where the Maya people wove a creation story unlike anything you've heard before. This is the Popol Vuh, a sacred text that speaks of humans born from corn, of gods who learned through trial and error, and of a balance with nature that feels almost too modern for its time. It's a story so powerful it was nearly erased by fire, yet it survived to whisper truths we're only beginning to understand. So, settle into the quiet of the night, let the rhythm of the jungle carry you, and let's uncover the ancient heartbeat of the Popol Vuh. Imagine a world before the Bible, before Adam and Eve, before the idea of original sin. The Maya, one of the most advanced civilizations of the ancient Americas, had their own story of how the world began. The Popol Vuh, often called the Book of the People, wasn't written in the way we think of books today. It was a living narrative, passed down through generations by storytellers, priests, and elders in the highlands of what is now Guatemala. Composed around the 2nd century BCE, it wasn't committed to paper until the 16th century, but its roots stretch deep into the Maya's past, a testament to their understanding of life, death, and the cosmos. This isn't a tale of divine perfection, it's a story of struggle, experimentation, and a deep connection to the earth. The Popol Vuh begins in silence, in a world before light or life. The gods, known as the Heart of Sky and the Plumed Serpent, gather in the darkness, pondering how to create beings who can worship them and sustain the world. But creation isn't easy, even for gods. Their first attempt is a failure. They shape humans from mud, but these creatures are soft, shapeless, unable to speak or think. They crumble under the rain, dissolving back into the earth. The gods try again, this time carving humans from wood. These wooden people can walk and talk, but they lack souls, hearts, or understanding. They're empty, mechanical, caring nothing for the gods or the world. In a fit of frustration, the gods destroy them with floods and fire, their remnants scattered as kindling. Finally, the gods turn to corn, the sacred crop of the Maya, the lifeblood of their civilization. From maize, they craft humans who are different, thoughtful, grateful, connected to the earth. These are the true ancestors of the Maya, born not from divine fiat, but from a process of trial and error, a cosmic experiment that mirrors the resilience of life itself. The Popol Vuh doesn't stop there. It weaves in the epic tale of the hero twins, Hunahpu and Ixbalanque, who venture into the underworld, Xibalba, to face its dark lords. Through cunning, courage, and sacrifice, they defeat death itself, rising as the sun and moon to guide humanity. This isn't a story of blind obedience, it's about ingenuity, balance, and finding harmony with the forces of the universe. What makes the Popol Vuh so striking is how different it is from the creation stories we're used to. There's no original sin, no eternal guilt. The gods aren't perfect. They make mistakes, learn, and adapt. Humans aren't punished for disobedience, but celebrated for their connection to nature. Corn, the humble grain, isn't just food. It's the essence of life, a symbol of interdependence between people and the earth. I remember reading this during a hectic period when I was working 60-hour weeks, barely seeing my kids, and feeling like life was slipping out of balance. The Popol Vuh's idea of humans as part of nature, not above it, hit me hard. It made me rethink my priorities, leading me to carve out time for evening walks with my family, feeling the ground beneath my feet. For those of us in our 30s and 40s, trying to juggle careers and family, that message feels like a call to slow down, to find harmony in a world that's always pushing us to run faster. Here's a challenge. If the Popol Vuh's vision of balance shaped your life, what would you change? Would you prioritize nature over hustle? Share your idea on X with number Mystery History, or drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear your vision. For me, this text isn't just a story, it's a guide to living better. But the Popol Vuh's survival was no accident. It faced a firestorm of destruction when the Spanish arrived in the 16th century, determined to erase the Mayas' beliefs. As we move forward, we'll uncover how this sacred text was nearly lost stand, why its survival is a testament to the resilience of a people. Stay with me, because the story of the Popol Vuh is about to take us into the heart of a cultural tragedy. Part 4. 2. The Destruction by Diego de Landa. The Popol Vuh has just taken us into the heart of the Maya world, a place where humans were born from corn, where gods learned through trial and error, and where balance with nature was the key to existence. This sacred story, passed down through generations, wasn't just a myth, it was the soul of a civilization. But when European conquerors arrived in the 16th century, they didn't just see a different culture, they saw a threat. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're stepping into a dark chapter of history, where one man's zeal nearly erased the Mayas' legacy forever. This is the story of Diego de Landa, a Spanish missionary whose actions burned a hole through the heart of a people. Settle into the stillness of the night, let the echoes of the past guide you, and let's uncover a tragedy that tried to silence the Popol Vuh. It's 1562 in the Yucatan Peninsula, a land of towering pyramids and vibrant Maya communities. The Spanish conquest, led by men like Hernán Cortés decades earlier, has already toppled empires like the Aztecs. But the Maya remain resilient, their culture woven into the jungles and cities they call home. Enter Diego de Landa, a Franciscan friar sent to convert the Maya to Christianity. He's not just a missionary, he's a man on a mission, driven by a fervent belief that the Mayas' traditions, their gods, and their sacred texts are works of the devil. To him, the only path to salvation is through the cross, and anything that stands in the way must be destroyed. On the 12th of July, 1562, in the town of Mani, Diego de Landa orchestrates a scene that would haunt history. He gathers every Maya codex he can find, beautifully crafted books made of bark paper filled with intricate hieroglyphs, astronomical charts, and sacred stories like the Popol Vuh. These aren't just books, they're the memory of a people, the record of their cosmology, their history, their very identity. Landa orders them piled high in the town square. Before a crowd of Maya, forced to watch in horror, he sets the codices ablaze. The flames roar, consuming centuries of knowledge. Landa himself later wrote, "We found a large number of books in these characters, and, as they contain nothing in which there was not to be seen superstition and lies of the devil, we burned them all, which they took most grievously, and which gave them great pain." His words drip with certainty, but to the Maya, this was no act of salvation, it was cultural genocide. The Popol Vuh, the sacred creation story we explored, was almost certainly among the texts targeted. Its tale of humans born from corn, of hero twins defying the underworld, didn't fit the Christian narrative of Adam, Eve, and original sin. To Landa, these stories weren't just different, they were dangerous. They offered a worldview where humans weren't burdened by guilt but empowered by their connection to nature. They spoke of gods who weren't perfect, who learned and adapted, challenging the idea of a single, infallible deity. If the Mayas' beliefs were allowed to stand, what would happen to the Spanish mission to civilize the New World? What would happen to the Church's claim to universal truth? Landa's bonfire wasn't just about destroying books, it was about erasing a way of thinking. The Maya codices contained more than myths. They held astronomical calculations that tracked Venus and the Moon with precision rivaling European science. They recorded medicinal plants, rituals, and histories that sustained a civilization for centuries. By burning them, Landa wasn't just attacking paganism, he was dismantling a system of knowledge that rivaled Europe's own. I can still feel the weight of this loss when I think about it, imagining those flames devouring pages that could have taught us so much. It's like watching a piece of humanity's soul turn to ash. But here's the miracle. The Popol Vuh survived, not as a codex, but through the resilience of the Maya people. Their oral tradition, carried by storytellers and elders, kept the story alive despite the fires. Around 1701, a Dominican priest named Francisco Ximenez, stationed in what is now Guatemala, encountered the Popol Vuh in its oral form. Unlike Landa, Ximenez was curious, even sympathetic. He transcribed the story in the Quiche language and translated it into Spanish, preserving it for the world. Without his act of defiance, the Popol Vuh might have been lost forever. But even this survival came at a cost. The original codices, with their vivid illustrations and hieroglyphs, are gone, leaving us only a shadow of the Mayas' full legacy. Why does this destruction matter? Because it wasn't just about one man or one bonfire. Landa's actions were part of a larger campaign to erase indigenous cultures across the Americas, to replace their wisdom with a European narrative of superiority. The Popol Vuh's survival is a testament to the Mayas' strength, but it's also a reminder of what was lost. Countless other stories, sciences, and philosophies reduced to ashes. It makes me wonder, what would our world look like if those codices had survived? Would we see the Maya as equals, their knowledge shaping our understanding of the universe? Here's a question for you. If you could save one piece of a lost culture, what would it be? Story, a song, a science? Drop your answer in the comments, or share it on X with #Mystery History. I want to know what you'd fight to preserve. For me, the Popol Vuh is a spark that refused to die, a whisper from a people who wouldn't be silenced. As we move forward, we're about to hit a twist that makes the Popol Vuh even more astonishing, a revelation that connects its ancient wisdom to modern science. Stay with me, because the Maya's story is far from over, and it's about to challenge everything you thought you knew. Part 4. 3. Twist. The Maya's science ahead of its time. The Popol Vuh has carried us into the heart of the Maya world, a place where humans were born from corn and gods learned through trial and error, only to face near annihilation in the flames of Diego de Landa's conquest. But the story of this sacred text doesn't end with its survival. It takes a turn that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about ancient civilizations. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're diving into a twist so astonishing it could rewrite the history of science itself. The Popol Vuh isn't just a myth, it's a window into a Maya civilization whose knowledge of the cosmos and life was centuries ahead of its time. So, sink into the quiet of the night, let the whispers of the jungle guide you, and prepare for a revelation that will shake you to your core. The Popol Vuh's creation story, with its cycles of failed humans, mud, wood, then corn, mirrors modern evolutionary biology in a way that feels almost impossible for a text from 2,000 years ago. Each attempt failed until corn gave humans balance and purpose, a process eerily similar to natural selection, where species adapt or perish over millennia. How could the Maya, without modern science, describe something so close to evolution? This isn't a coincidence. It's a clue to a civilization that observed the world with staggering precision. The Maya's obsession with time and cycles is woven into the Popol Vuh's narrative. Their Tzolk'in calendar, a 260-day cycle, tracked celestial events with an accuracy that rivals NASA. Here's a jaw-dropper. The Maya predicted a solar eclipse on the 11th of July, 1990, 1 centuries in advance, with calculations so precise they were off by mere hours. They didn't have telescopes, yet they mapped Venus's 584-day cycle, a figure within a fraction of modern measurements. The Popol Vuh's cyclical view of creation worlds rising, falling, reborn echoes modern cosmology's ideas about the universe's expansion and contraction. I remember learning this in a late-night dive into Maya astronomy, sitting in my backyard, staring at the stars. It hit me. These weren't just priests, they were scientists, reading the cosmos with their naked eyes. For those of us in our 40s, chasing stability in a chaotic world, this wisdom feels like a call to slow down, to see the bigger picture. Beyond astronomy, the Popol Vuh's focus on corn as humanity's essence is ecological genius. The Maya domesticated corn, sustaining millions with advanced farming techniques like terracing and crop rotation, preserving soil for centuries. Their understanding of ecosystems rivals today's environmental science. When I read this, I was at a low point, burned out from work, feeling disconnected. The Popol Vuh inspired me to start a small garden with my kids, reconnecting with the earth. It's a small act, but it brought balance back to my life, a lesson the Maya mastered millennia ago. This wasn't unique to the Maya. The Aztec Codex Gigas lists over 300 medicinal plants, like willow bark for pain, prefiguring aspirin. These were centuries of observation, not guesses. Diego de Landa's 1,562 bonfire didn't just burn myths, it erased a science that could have rivaled Europe's. The Popol Vuh's survival is a defiant spark, but it leaves us wondering, what else was lost? Here's a challenge. If the Maya's wisdom shaped our world, what would you change to live in balance? Share your idea on X with number Mystery History, or drop it in the comments. I'm curious to see your vision. For me, the Popol Vuh is a call to rethink what progress means. As we move forward, we'll explore the lasting impact of the Popol Vuh and its lessons for today. Stay with me, because this ancient text has one more secret to reveal. Part 4,4, Stolen Memories. The Popol Vuh has taken us through the Maya's cosmic vision, a world of corn-born humans and gods who learned through failure, only to reveal a scientific wisdom that feels centuries ahead of its time. But this sacred text wasn't just a story, it was the heartbeat of a civilization, nearly silenced by the flames of conquest. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're stepping into the aftermath of that destruction, exploring how the Maya's memories were stolen and what their survival means for us today. This is a tale of loss, resilience, and a truth that refused to die. So, settle into the stillness of the night, let the whispers of the past surround you, and let's uncover the cost of a culture's stolen legacy. When Diego de Landa set fire to the Maya codices in 1562, he didn't just burn books, he torched an entire way of seeing the world. The Popol Vuh, with its story of creation and balance, was part of a vast library of Maya knowledge, astronomical charts, medicinal recipes, histories of kings and cities, all painstakingly recorded on bark paper. These codices were more than records. They were the soul of the Maya, connecting generations to their ancestors, their gods, and the earth. Landa's bonfire in Mani, where he burned dozens of these texts, was an act of cultural erasure, designed to replace the Maya's identity with a European one. The pain of that loss wasn't just in the flames, it was in the silence that followed, as a people watched their history turn to ash. I can still feel the weight of that moment, imagining the Maya standing in that town square, their faces lit by the fire, knowing their stories were being stolen. For those of us in our 40s, who've watched the world speed up, careers demanding more, families needing time, our own dreams slipping away, that loss feels personal. It's like losing a piece of yourself to the grind, to a system that tells you what matters. The Popol Vuh's message of balance isn't just ancient wisdom, it's a guide for us today, a call to reclaim what keeps us whole. This resilience is what makes the Popol Vuh's survival so powerful. It's not just a book, it's a rebellion against oblivion. Today, the Popol Vuh is studied, translated, and celebrated, a cornerstone of Maya cultural revival. Indigenous communities in Guatemala and beyond draw on it to reclaim their heritage, teaching their children the stories of the hero twins and the corn-born ancestors. Modern scholars, like those at the University of Guatemala, have used it to decode Maya hieroglyphs, unlocking histories that were thought lost forever. But even this victory is bittersweet. The original codices, with their vibrant illustrations and intricate scripts, are gone. We have only fragments of what was a single transcription, a shadow of a library that once held the wisdom of a civilization. The stolen memories of the Maya force us to confront a hard truth. The loss of their codices wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act to break a culture, to make the Maya forget who they were. This wasn't unique to them across the Americas. Indigenous knowledge was burned, banned, or buried to enforce colonial rule. The Popol Vuh's survival is a miracle, but it's also a reminder of what we've lost. Countless other stories, sciences, and philosophies that could have shaped a different world. I can't help but wonder, what would our history look like if those codices had survived? Would we see the Maya as equals, their knowledge guiding our understanding of nature and time? Here's a challenge. What does it mean to lose a culture's memory? If you could reclaim one lost story, what would it be? Share your thoughts on X with number mystery history, or drop them in the comments. I want to know what this sparks in you. For me, the Popol Vuh is a call to remember, not just the Maya, but all the voices history has tried to silence. As we close this chapter, the Popol Vuh leaves us with a challenge, to honor the memories that survived and seek out those still hidden. Stay with me, because next we'll explore two enigmatic texts that defy explanation. Let these ancient voices linger as you drift into the night, dreaming of a past that refuses to be forgotten. Part 5. 1. Voynich Manuscript, the mysterious language. The Popol Vuh has left us in awe of the Maya's resilience, their sacred story surviving the flames of conquest to whisper truths about humanity and nature. But now, we're stepping into a mystery so strange, so baffling, it defies everything we think we know about ancient knowledge. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're diving into a book that feels like it fell from another world, the Voynich Manuscript. This 15th century text, with its unreadable script and bizarre illustrations, has stumped scholars, cryptographers, and even modern AI for over a century. Is it a hoax, a code, or a lost language holding secrets we're not meant to know? Settle into the quiet of the night, let the enigma wrap around you, and let's unravel a puzzle that's haunted history for 600 years. Picture this. It's 1912, and a Polish book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich is rummaging through a chest of old manuscripts in an Italian monastery. Among the dusty tomes, he finds something extraordinary, a small, vellum-bound book, about 240 pages long, filled with a script no one has ever seen. The pages are covered in strange, flowing characters, unlike any known alphabet, alongside detailed drawings of plants that don't exist, astronomical charts that don't match any sky, and human figures bathed in mysterious, almost mystical elements. Voynich, a seasoned collector, knows he's holding something unique. He buys it, names it after himself, and sets off a century-long obsession that's still unsolved today. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a book so cryptic it feels like a message from another team or another reality. The manuscript's physical details only deepen the mystery. Carbon dating places it to the early 15th century, around 1404, 1438, crafted on high-quality vellum, a material reserved for important works. The ink is vibrant, the illustrations meticulous, suggesting it was no casual project. The text is divided into sections: botanical, astronomical, biological, and possibly pharmaceutical, each filled with drawings that defy explanation. The plants, with their odd roots and flowers, resemble nothing in nature. The star charts show constellations that don't align with any known sky. The biological section depicts women in strange, tub-like structures, connected by pipes, as if illustrating some alien anatomy or ritual. I remember the first time I saw images of these pages online, late at night, my screen glowing with those eerie illustrations. It felt like staring into a dream familiar, yet impossibly strange. What was this book trying to say? The script itself is the real enigma. It's written in a fluid, cursive-like style, with characters that look almost like Latin or Arabic, but match no known language. Linguists have identified pattern swords repeat. There's a grammar-like structure, and some sequences suggest a natural language. Yet, no one can read it. World War II codebreakers, including the team that cracked the Enigma machine, tried and failed. Modern AI, trained on vast datasets of languages, has detected statistical patterns that mimic real speech, but still no translation. Some scholars, like those at Yale's Beinecke Library where the manuscript is housed, argue it's a cipher, a coded message hiding medical or alchemical knowledge. Others think it's a constructed language, like a Proto-Esperanto, designed to be secret. A few even whisper it's a hoax, a 15th century prank to fool wealthy collectors. But if it's a hoax, why the obsessive detail? Why the linguistic structure that baffles even computers? Here's where the mystery gets darker. The Voynich Manuscript isn't just hard to read, it's hard to study. Researchers seeking access to the original at Yale often face delays or denials, with excuses about preservation or credentials. Independent scholars, like those posting theories on X, report their work being dismissed or ignored. In 2016, a team using AI to analyze the script found it has the entropy of a real language, not random gibberish, yet their findings were met with skepticism. It's as if someone or something doesn't want this book understood. I can't shake the feeling that there's a reason for this silence. When I first dug into the Voynich online, scrolling through forums late at night, I found stories of researchers whose careers stalled after pursuing it too far. Coincidence? Or something more? What could the Voynich manuscript be hiding? Some theories suggest it's a compendium of lost herbal medicine, detailing plants and remedies from a forgotten culture, perhaps a pre-Columbian exchange between Europe and the Americas. Others propose it's an alchemical text, encoding the secrets of transmutation or early chemistry. A few bold voices on X claim it's extraterrestrial, a record of knowledge from beyond Earth. But here's my take. The Voynich is dangerous because it doesn't fit. It doesn't belong to any known tradition, any established history. Its very existence challenges the idea that we've mapped the past. If it's real, it suggests a civilization, a mind we've never accounted for. If it's a hoax, it's the most elaborate one in history, crafted with a purpose we can't grasp. This book isn't just a puzzle, it's a mirror. It forces us to confront how little we know about our own history. When I look at those strange drawings, I see a question staring back. What if the past holds secrets we're not ready to face? The Voynich manuscript doesn't give answers, it demands we ask harder questions. Who wrote it? Why hide it in plain sight, in a script no one can read? And why, even today, does it feel like someone's keeping it just out of reach? Here's a challenge. Vote on X. Is the Voynich manuscript a lost science or a clever hoax? Use number mystery history and tag use. I'm curious to see your take, or drop your wildest theory in the comments. For me, it's a reminder that some truths are so strange they defy explanation, yet they keep calling us to look closer. As we move forward, we'll pair the Voynich with another enigma, Codex Gigas, a book so dark it's called the Devil's Bible. Stay with me, because these mysteries are about to get even weirder, and the night is still young. Part 5.2, Codex Gigas, the Devil's Bible. The Voynich manuscript has left us grappling with a language no one can read, a puzzle that taunts us from the shadows of history. But now, we're stepping into an even darker enigma book, so massive, so unsettling. It's been nicknamed the Devil's Bible. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're diving into the Codex Gigas, a 13th century manuscript that's as much a legend as it is a text. Weighing over 165 pounds, filled with everything from scripture to sorcery, and featuring a chilling full-page drawing of the devil himself, this book wasn't burned like so many others. Instead, It was preserved, locked away, and shrouded in mystery. Why? What secrets does it hold that made it too dangerous to destroy, yet too forbidden to embrace? Settle into the quiet of the night. Let the weight of this ancient tome pull you in, and let's uncover a story that will send shivers down your spine. Picture a Benedictine monastery in Bohemia, now the Czech Republic, around 1220. The air is thick with incense. The halls echo with monks' chants, and in a dimly lit scriptorium, a single scribe is said to have created a book unlike any other. The Codex Gigas, Latin for giant book, lives up to its name. It's nearly a metre tall. Its 310 vellum pages made from the skins of 160 calves. So heavy it takes 2 people to lift. This isn't just a book, it's a monument, a colossus of knowledge that contains the entire Latin Vulgate Bible, historical chronicles, medical recipes, astronomical charts, and even incantations for summoning spirits. But what sets it apart, what makes it infamous, is a single haunting image, a full-page illustration of a horned, green-faced devil, staring blankly at the reader with lifeless eyes. The moment I first saw that image online, late at night, my screen glowing in the dark, I felt a chill. Who drew this? And why? What kind of book pairs the word of God with the face of Satan? The legend of the Codex Gigas is as dark as its reputation. The story goes that a monk, sentenced to death for breaking his vows, begged for mercy. To prove his worth, he promised to create a book containing all human knowledge in a single night and impossible task. As midnight loomed and his quill faltered, he made a desperate plea, not to God, but to the devil. Satan answered, granting the monk supernatural speed to finish the manuscript. But at a price, the devil's image would dominate its pages. It's a chilling tale, one that's been whispered for centuries, but it masks a deeper truth. Handwriting analysis shows a single scribe labored over it for years, perhaps decades, with meticulous care. So why the devil? Why this legend? And why, unlike so many forbidden texts, was this one spared the flames? The Codex Gigas is a paradox. It contains the Bible, meant to guide souls to salvation, but also holds knowledge the medieval church condemned, alchemical recipes, astronomical observations, and rituals like the Devil's Prayer for exorcisms and summoning spirits. Its herbal remedies, such as willow bark for pain, predate modern pharmacology, while its star charts rival the work of later astronomers like Johannes Kepler. This wasn't black magic, it was a bold blend of the sacred and the unknown, refusing to separate faith from inquiry. That defiance made it dangerous. I remember scrolling through its digital pages one sleepless night, transfixed by that devil's stare. It felt like a rebellion against the church's rigid rules, a claim that truth doesn't fit in boxes. For those of us in our 40s, caught between work and family, that defiance resonates. It's a reminder to question the systems that define our lives. The Codex Gigas wasn't burned, but it was shunned, hidden in monasteries, then seized as war booty in 1648 by Swedish forces, now resting in the National Library of Sweden. Why spare it? Some say its size and beauty made it a trophy too grand to destroy. Others suggest its knowledge was too valuable, yet too risky to embrace. On X, I've seen theories that it hides alchemical secrets or psychological archetypes, with the devil as a mirror of human fear. Whatever the truth, its refusal to fit religious, scientific, or occult made it a threat to control. Here's a challenge. Was the Codex Gigas really devil? Inspired? Or is it a forgotten key to knowledge? Share your theory on X with Number Mystery History, or drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear what you think. For me, it's a call to embrace the unknown, to seek truth beyond labels. As we move forward, we'll weave these mysteries into a global tapestry of forbidden knowledge. Stay with me, because the night is dark, and the secrets are only getting deeper. Part 6. 1. Shanhai Jing, the Forgotten Map. The Codex Gigas has left us staring into the unsettling eyes of a devil, its pages blending the sacred and the forbidden in a way that defies explanation. But now, We're crossing continents to a different kind of mystery, one that doesn't just challenge a single religion, but an entire civilization's understanding of its past. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're journeying to ancient China, where a text so strange, so vast, it's been dismissed as mere folklore for centuries. This is the Shanhai Jing, or the Classic of Mountains and Seas, a book that maps a world of mountains, rivers, and creatures that seem plucked from a fever dream. But what if this isn't just myth? What if it's a forgotten map of a China we've never truly known? Settle into the quiet of the night, let the whispers of the East guide you, and let's uncover a secret that's been hidden in plain sight for over 2,000 years. Around the 4th century BCE, during China's Warring States period, the Shanhai Jing took shape a sprawling catalogue spanning nearly 31,000 characters across 18 chapters. It's not a traditional story, but a guidebook to a world both real and surreal, detailing over 500 mountains, 300 rivers, and creatures like snakes with human heads or three-legged birds. At first, it feels like a fantastical bestiary, but digging deeper, I saw something else—a map of a lost world, encoded in myth. Its precise descriptions of geography, from Mount Kunlun to distant steppes, match real locations like the Pamir Plateau, where glaciers feed rivers like the Yellow and Yangtze. The three-legged bird ties to solar symbols, the human-headed snakes to shamanic rituals or nomadic tribes. This isn't fantasy, it's observation, veiled to survive. The Shanhai Jing's scope is staggering, covering regions beyond Han China's heartland deserts, islands, steppe-shinting at older, diverse cultures before the Qin unification in 221 BCE. I remember scrolling X posts about it, where users speculated it preserves lost ethnic voices, erased by imperial expansion. That idea hit me hard. What if this is a snapshot of a China before it was one nation? Yet, Confucian scholars sidelined it as folklore, favoring order over its chaotic diversity. Its ecological and geographic details, like rare antelopes or river systems, align with modern archaeology, revealing a science we're only now appreciating. Why was it marginalized? Perhaps its diverse voices threatened imperial unity. Here's a challenge. Is the Shanhai Jing a myth, or a map to a lost past? Vote on X with number Mystery History. I'm curious to see your take. For me, it's a reminder that history buries what doesn't serve power. As we move forward, we'll connect the Shanhai Jing to a global memory that spans continents. Stay with me, because this forgotten map is about to lead us to a truth bigger than any one culture. Part 6. 2. Flood Myths and Global Memory. The Shanhai Jing has taken us through a forgotten map of ancient China, its strange creatures and precise geographies hinting at a world buried beneath the label of myth. But now, we're stepping beyond the borders of any one culture to uncover a mystery that spans the globe, a story so universal it feels etched into humanity's soul. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're diving into flood myths that echo across civilizations, from Sumerian tablets to Polynesian legends, all whispering of a great deluge that reshaped the world. Is this coincidence, or a shared global memory? Settle into the quiet of the night, let the waves of the past carry you, and let's explore a truth bigger than history itself. Noah's Ark, from the Book of Genesis, is the flood story most know, a divine deluge wiping out a sinful world, sparing Noah and his ark. But this tale isn't unique. The Epic of Gilgamesh, from 2000 BCE Sumer, tells of Utnapishtim, warned by the god Ea to build a boat and survive a world-drowning flood. In India's Matsya Purana, 300 BCE, Vishnu, as a giant fish, guides King Manu's boat through a deluge. China's Shu Jing describes Yu the Great, taming a generational flood, not with an ark, but by working with nature. Polynesian myths speak of waves sweeping islands, the Maya's Popol Vuh, of worlds destroyed by water, and Yoruba and Hopi tales echo the same. A flood, a survivor, a world reborn. I was in my late 30s, swamped by work and screens, when I stumbled across these myths. Ignoring my buzzing phone, I felt a connection. Humanity has faced chaos before and survived. For those of us juggling life's pressures, these stories are a lifeline, reminding us we can adapt and endure. How could cultures so far apart share such similar tales? Archaeological evidence points to real floods Mesopotamia in 2900 BCE, the Black Sea in 5600 BCE, or a global ice age melt around 9600 BCE. Are these myths memories of a real catastrophe? These stories aren't just about destruction, they're about balance. The Popol Vuh's flood is a reset, not punishment. You, the Great, restores harmony with the earth. Unlike the biblical focus on sin, these myths emphasize resilience. Why elevate Noah's story and dismiss others as folklore? Perhaps it's about control shaping a narrative of obedience over adaptation. Here's a challenge. Are flood myths humanity's oldest memory, or a universal truth about survival? Share your theory on X with Number Mystery History, or drop it in the comments. I'm dying to hear your take. For me, these myths are whispers from our ancestors, urging us to listen to the earth. As we close, these myths remind us that some truths are too big for one culture. Stay with me, because next we'll tie these threads into a conclusion that challenges everything you thought you knew. Part 7. Conclusion. We've journeyed through the shadows of history, from the cosmic rebellion of the Book of Enoch to the Gnostic whispers of the Nag Hammadi texts, from the Maya's resilient Popol Vuh to the cryptic enigmas of the Voynich Manuscript and Codex Gigas. We've crossed continents to uncover the Shanhai Jing and heard the global chorus of flood myths. Each text, buried or burned, carries a truth too powerful for history's gatekeepers. Tonight, on Mystery History for Sleep, we're closing this epic journey with a challenge to reclaim the truths hidden from us. So, settle into the night, let these ancient voices linger, and let's ask, who decides what you're allowed to know? What makes a book dangerous? We've seen it across cultures. The Book of Enoch was banned for suggesting humans could reach the divine without priests. The Nag Hammadi texts dared to place God within you, threatening the Church's power. The Popol Vuh challenged European supremacy with its vision of balance. The Voynich and Codex Gigas defy categorization, and the Shanhai Jing and flood myths reveal a diverse, shared past. These texts aren't relics, they're rebellions, each a spark to ignite how we see ourselves. They share one idea: you have the power to know, not kings, priests, or algorithms you, but that power demands you question the stories you're told. I was in my late 30s, buried in work and notifications, feeling lost. The Popol Vuh taught me to seek balance. The Gospel of Thomas showed me truth lies within. For those of us in our 30s and 40s, these texts are guides to cut through the noise of modern life. History is a battlefield, and censorship is the weapon. The Book of Enoch was erased, the Popol Vuh burned, the Shanhai Jing sidelined to control what you believe. Today, algorithms and loud voices play the same game. So, we dig, we question. The Book of Enoch, Nag Hammadi, Popol Vuh, Voynich, Codex Gigas, and Shanhai Jing are out there. Read them, and ask why they were hidden. What else is buried? Not because it's false, but because it's too powerful. Here's my challenge. What secret do you want to uncover next? The Voynich's script? The Codex Gigas' devil? The Maya's lost codices? Share your pick on X with Number Mystery History, or drop it in the comment 7 a single word. Your voice is part of this rebellion. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and share this on X or Reddit. Let's spark a conversation the gatekeepers can't control. Next, we'll explore: did ancient civilizations know secrets of the stars we've forgotten? Drop a comment if you're in. It's going to be wild. Tonight, let these truths sink in. You don't need permission to seek them, they're yours. Sleep well, but dream deep, because the past is calling, and it's time to answer. Thank you for walking this path with me. I'll see you in the next mystery.